First song I ever wrote, I was in grade two. So this is like, whatever was that 8 years old or something? It was, this is just to give you my kick. So you know that I'm truly a Canadian. My first song was about Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah.
And I still remember one of the lines about it. One of the lines from it was 50 goals in 39 games, no glory for Gretzky and all of his fame, which I think is interesting because I think it sort of uh it sort of foreshadows me getting into like miserably sad country music, because like even though Gretzky had set the record, I still had this thing at my young age in the back of my mind that he actually wasn't happy.
Welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party, your weekly musical happy hour where musicians pick an album from their back catalog and tell the stories behind their favorite tracks in front of a live online audience.
This week, we talk with banjo player and songwriter Chris Coole of the Lonesome Ace Stringband. He joins us from Toronto with a fancy cocktail, revisits their 2018 album When the Sun Comes Up, and talks about his unusual path to making bluegrass and old-time music. So make your own fancy beverage, grab a snack, and kick back as we listen to music together here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, where it's always Friday and old albums never sounded better. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us all the way from Toronto, Chris Coole.
All right.
And we are very excited to have a third banjo player joining us in the house at the party. And if you're joining us, tell us where you are tuned in from, if you're enjoying a beverage or a snack for this, our weekly happy hour. And Tony, are you enjoying any kind of beverage?
I am. I've got something called the Hoppy Amber. It's a special effects NA from the Brooklyn Brewery. It's delicious.
Nice. And Chris, are you enjoying some kind of drink over there?
I am. I'm having a drink that's called appetizer number 3.
What's in appetizer number 3?
Well, I thought I'd invented it. I was up at my cottage one time. It was like opening it up in the spring. And do you guys call them cottages or camps in Minnesota?
Or cabins.
Depends if you're on the East Coast or not.
Cabins. Yeah,
yeah exactly.
we call them cottages because we're,
yeah,
British.
Very worldly.
but I was up opening it up and I'd forgotten to bring any booze up with me, and there was just a few things left. There was a bottle of rye, a bottle of Contro, and a bottle of bitters, Angostura or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all there was. And I was like, well, I mean, how bad can that be? And so I put it together, and it turned out it's a great drink. And then I started searching for it, and I couldn't find it. And then I eventually found it, and it's that drink is listed in some cookbook, and it's just simply called appetizer number 3.
Oh, wow.
I'm
going to have to look that one up.
I just learned something new. And also I love it when drinks are formed out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that things were looking a little spare, but I did find one bottle
what do you got?
of Kona Big Wave. So I'm channeling some tropical vibes, even though our glorious February thaw of the last week has come to an end. I'm sad to say it's kind of crazy out there right now. It's legitimate snowstorm.
It was like 50 degrees yesterday, right around the t-shirt. And now we got a winter weather advisory, but you know what, whatever temperature it is, it's always 72 and sunny here at the Back Catalog Listening Party. And our friend David says, what? My third live taping in a row. David, it's so great to have you back, enjoying a cup of honey chai turmeric tea.
Nice. And Linda joining us from New Haven, Connecticut. Welcome to the party. And we got Christy coming in from Cambridge. Water with Y. Apparently it's a kind of water. Very fancy. Very and Christopher joining us from Savage. Welcome to the party, all of you. We're excited to have Chris Coole join us. And we're excited because Chris Coole will be coming to our neck of the woods pretty soon here to play the Minnesota Bluegrass Winter Weekend, which is a big festival that Tony and I are a part of every year in Plymouth, Minnesota. And Chris is one of the headliners coming in, and you're going to be playing a whole bunch of dates here in the U.S. Prior to coming for the festival. So we're excited to have you here. And maybe you could give us your bio is extensive, so we won't outline it all right here. But maybe you could give us a brief origin story of like where you grew up and how you fell into playing banjo.
Okay, brief. I've lived in Toronto my entire life. I've never lived anywhere else. I got my first banjo when I was 17. It was a lot, it's weird. I have no country music in my family whatsoever. I've lived like in downtown in a big city my entire life. My father went to his grave calling my banjo a guitar. So it's like that's just to show you that like I do not come from this music whatsoever. But I fell in love with the Andy Griffith Show when I was about 12 or 13 years old, watching reruns, obviously, because this would have been in the late 80s. And like I was obsessed with it, and I had all 249 episodes on VHS cassette, and I just I dug the lore of the there was, I mean, I love the show and the acting, but I loved just like sort of the homespun lore, and that's not a very pure way to get into the music, but that definitely had something to do with it. And the Dillards are on that, and the Kentucky Colonels are on that, the White brothers. And then at one point I found Old in the Way. The first two albums, first three albums I heard, we took my mom was working for Nortel, and we took a family trip down to Nashville, and I found a Little Roy Lewis album. That's the first banjo album I had. And the second one was the first Nashville Bluegrass Band album.
Ooh, nice.
And that was a tape that randomly a friend's dad had. And then I found Old in the Way. And then, I mean, you know how it is. It's just
the rest is history.
It's just like I went down the rabbit hole. And then when I got banjo when I was 17, I was so into it, both bluegrass and old time. And I just put on the blinders, and I didn't come up for air probably for about 15 years, at least 16 years of just only listening to bluegrass and old time and country to some degree.
I love, by the way, that you said bluegrass and old time, because there's that whole I can't remember who the quote is attributed to, where they're like, I like both kinds of music, country and Western.
Oh, yeah.
But I love that yours is yeah, exactly. And I like that yours is bluegrass and old time, and both kinds of music represented here. And we'll dive a little bit more into some of that. And we've talked about it here on the show with some of our other guests about, what defines bluegrass and old time. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that, because what we care about is just the music itself.
And we also really appreciate original music, and we know that you're a writer. So I'd love to know a little bit about how you got into songwriting.
First song I ever wrote, I was in grade 2. So this is whatever was that, 8 years old or something. This is just to give you my kick, so you know that I'm truly a Canadian. My first song was about Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, yeah.
and I still remember one of the lines about it. One of the lines from it was 50 goals in 39 games, no glory for Gretzky and all of his fame, which I think is interesting because it's sort of it sort of foreshadows me getting into miserably sad country music, because even though Gretzky had set the record, I still had this thing at my young age in the back of my mind that he actually wasn't happy. No glory. There was no glory. So anyways, and I've always written, as soon as I picked up the banjo, I was writing original tunes, and luckily that's sort of one of the nice things about getting into a music from far away, from not being sort of right in the heart of it. I mean, you guys aren't, but you're, maybe from my perspective, you are more than I am, but I was a long way from the sort of heart of the music that I was interested in. it's hard because you're you don't have as much exposure and people to learn off of. But on the other hand, there's a lot of freedom in that. And so it never occurred to me not to write tunes. It was like, well, why wouldn't I write my own tunes?
Nice.
Where I've met people, I think, that are more like deep in the tradition, who are I'm not everybody, but some people, they're like almost a little afraid to do that because there's I don't know, what do we need more tunes for? It's like there's already so many good ones. Yeah, there's something to that. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to argue against that, but.
Well, we're excited that anytime there's new music being written on banjos and folk instruments, it's really how these genres grow and reach new audiences. And your music is definitely an example of music that just kind of transcends any specific genre. It's got elements of lots of different stuff in there. And I know all the folks out there are probably itching to hear some of this original music. So I say we get right into the music. And the first track you have lined up is At My Kitchen Table. Anything you want to say about this track before we give it a spin?
Do you want me to tell you about it, or do you want to wait till after?
It's up to you. If you want.
Okay. Let's see if I can do boilerplate. I was sitting at my kitchen table, which is right over there, and very early in the morning, and I had this melody going through my head, and I was picking it on the banjo, and didn't have anything to write about, so I decided to write about the experience of not being able to write a song. So it started out with that, and then it broadened into sort of a study of failure in general, but like the beautiful part of failure, where it's like, if you don't fail, or if you're afraid to fail, then nothing will ever happen. So
wow, it's kind of an extension of your Wayne Gretzky.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm telling you.
Still writing
I haven't really expanded too much.
I'm convinced that a lot of songwriters just keep writing the same song their whole careers. I love
Agreed.
it. Can't wait to give this a spin. This is Chris Coole with the Lonesome Ace String Band at my kitchen table here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
It's at my kitchen table, it's there I'll make my stand, with an empty piece of paper and a banjo in my hand. For the melodies before me, you don't know what the song's about, but you gotta let it in before you'll ever get it out. Well, the fiddler plays it pretty as they waltz across the floor. They're both feeling something like they've never felt before. He watched her from a distance, then he finally took a chance. You gotta trip and stumble or you'll never get to dance. If trouble don't kill me, I'm gonna live until I die. The devil sees you stumble, but heaven knows you tried. You can study and rehearse it all from morning till night, but if you never get it wrong, you won't ever get it right. Well, he wakes up sick and shameful upon the bathroom floor. Pours out all his liquor like so many times before. He makes himself a promise that this is finally it. You never can stop quitting if you ever wanna quit. If trouble don't kill me, I'm gonna live until I die. The devil sees you stumble, but heaven knows you try. You can study and rehearse it all from morning till night, but if you never get it wrong, you won't ever get it right. The black sheep of the family, the crazy hippie aunt, She saw a lot of life, but she never saved a cent. She had a dozen boyfriends, and she loved everyone. Those that let their hearts run free might be the lucky ones. If trouble don't kill me, I'm gonna live until I die. The devil sees you stumble, but heaven knows you try. You can study and rehearse it all from morning till night, but if you never get it wrong, you won't ever get it right.
All right. Chris Coole with the Lonesome Ace String Band at my kitchen table from the Lonesome Ace String Band's 2018 album, When the Sun Comes Up, which we are revisiting today with Chris Coole joining us live from Toronto. And yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit. Well, first of all, great tune. Really just lovely. And it's interesting you talking about, not coming from any kind of like bluegrass or old time tradition, because this really has it just sits so perfectly in that space that feels like, most like a lot of original songs in the bluegrass world are just about everyday life, and this was your everyday life at your kitchen table. So it certainly fits in my book. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about this, the Lonesome Ace String Band. So tell us a little bit about who's in it and when it formed.
Okay, well, the band originally, it was myself, John Showman, and our friend Max Malone. And the three of us played in a 5-piece bluegrass band called the Foggy Hogtown Boys. Mm-hmm. Hogtown is the nickname of Toronto. Just like Boston's Beantown, Toronto's Hogtown. So anyways, we were in that band together. I played guitar in that band. We were in that band for, 15 years or something like that. And the three of us would often, clawhammer banjo's always been my first instrument, but I sort of played a lot of guitar in bands and stuff like that. But the three of us, often when we were on the road with that band, like if we got jamming, the three of us loved to play old time music, and that was always sort of my first love, in a way. And I never got a chance to play it all that much, really, because I was usually playing bluegrass. And so we'd find ourselves, like, after the shows at night, the three of us would often play old time music. And then one day we got offered this gig, which is how most bands start. We got offered this gig at this place called the Dakota Tavern that was just opening up in Toronto. And they didn't have enough money to pay a 5-piece band, so we decided to do it as a trio. And we started doing this gig, and it was every Saturday and every Sunday. It was a brunch gig, 10 to 2. So 4 sets every Saturday and Sunday. Plus, I should say at the time, this is like, I'm talking in like the 2000s and the teens or whatever. Toronto was a great city for house gigs. Like we had this bluegrass gig every Wednesday that had went for over 20 years, and then this Dakota gig. So the bluegrass gig was obviously was 5-piece band, but then we had this Dakota gig that was every Saturday and Sunday. So we played at least 8 sets every weekend for like 10 years, 10 years or something, or maybe
a lot of practice.
7 years before. But then we also had other, I usually had about 5 weekly gigs, most of those for those decades. I had a solo gig that I did every Sunday. And so it was a great city for that. And so we were often playing, like, before we ever recorded anything, we'd probably play, most weeks we would play, 12 sets together, almost every week, for 7 years before we ever recorded anything. And then once we recorded a couple albums, then we started going on the road with it. And so because we were playing in bars, and it was like, it was like a real bar, even though it was a brunch gig. It was really crowded, and we were used to playing for people who wasn't like a listening audience. And that was really fun because we sort of learned to play really loose, and we had a lot of freedom because, like, we were being listened to, but it wasn't like we weren't under the microscope. So we sort of got into this way of playing that was, especially with the old time stuff that was maybe a little bit looser than what sometimes it gets played like. And then when we started going out on the road as an actual real band and playing like actual gigs where people were listening, we had to sort of like, oh, this is really different. So we not that we changed, but we had to sort of take some of that, but also, sort of come up with a thing that was a balance of that and actually a show as well. But yeah, Lonesome Ace has been going since, I think, oh God, I mean, we've probably almost been playing together for, if you count the bluegrass band, me and John Showman, who are the main members of the band. Max moved to BC, so he still sometimes plays bass with us. But me and John have been playing full time in a band together for 25 years. Oh. Whether it's the bluegrass band or this band. So we've played somewhere between 2,500 shows together or something like that.
And read each other's mind at this point.
Yeah, so on a good night, for sure.
And how about the name Lonesome Ace? Was that something you just had to come up with quick before the gig started, or what?
That's interesting, because what's the next song we're going to do?
Let the Mermaids.
Perfect. Okay, so this is good. There was years ago in the 20s, Jimmy Rogers was super popular as the yodeling brakeman, right? And that style of music, yodeling in country music, got really popular. There was this guy, I think he was from Virginia, and I can't remember his name, but he was this eccentric sort of rich dude, and he hated yodeling. And so he decided he'd start a record label with no yodeling.
It's like the only rule, no yodeling.
So he called the label Lonesome Ace Records, and it had a picture of a biplane, because it was like right after World War One, right? So it was a picture of a biplane, sort of like an ace flyer, and then the logo underneath the biplane, it would say "Without a yodel." Lonesome Ace without a yodel. And Doc Boggs and Mississippi John Hurt recorded on that label.
Oh, no.
And anyways, I always thought that was a great name. And then when we got that gig, we just was like, hey, what should we call ourselves? And I said, well, let's call ourselves Lonesome Ace. I always thought it would make a cool name for a band.
Yeah. And you have that, do you kind of abide by the tagline? The no yodeling tagline?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could yodel. I just can't. It's not it's not out of choice. But anyways, sorry. So how this ties into the next tune we're going to play is it's a tune called "Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me." It was recorded by Mississippi John Hurt. I'm not sure whether it was recorded on the Lonesome Ace album, because he recorded label. He recorded on a bunch of different labels. But anyways, that's what ties this song in. So this is our version. His version's very different. This is our sort of way of taking one of his songs and bringing it into like more of a string band sound.
All right. Well, let's give it a spin. This is Chris Coole with the Lonesome Ace String Band. Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Trouble all in the ocean, trouble all in the air. I can't stay here no longer, I have no steamship fare. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all the undertaker bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. There's trouble in my body, my sweetheart's forsaken me. If I ever see her face again, I'll have to swim across the sea. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all the undertaker bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. Home, a sweetheart I cannot find. The only thing I can call my own is a troubled and wearied mind. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all the undertaker bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. I do not work for pleasure, earthly peace I'll seek no more. The only reason I work at all is drive the world from my door. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all the undertaker bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. Trouble all in the air. Can't stay here no longer, I have no steamship fare. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. Save all the undertaker bills, let the mermaids flirt with me.
All right.
Nice.
Lonesome Ace String Band with Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me from their 2018 album, When the Sun Comes Up. And I love the feel of that version of that song.
Mhm.
And I will say that the instrumentation is usually with the Lonesome Ace String Band is fiddle, banjo, and bass. Is that right?
Always, yeah.
Always, yeah.
Occasionally in the studio, I'll overdub a bit of guitar, but I don't think there'll be anything on this album. I don't think I overdubbed. I don't think I overdubbed much, anyways. But yeah, when we're live, it's either just me and John, which is what it's going to be at the festival, which we're playing more as a duo these days. But then sometimes it's with a bass. But we never early in the band, I used to bring the guitar and the banjo, and then I was so sick of carrying two instruments around. And I also had never really, in a way, I'd never really played, like, banjo's always been my main instrument, but I've never really been the banjo player. I was always sort of the guitar and banjo player, and I sort of just wanted to be the banjo player.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. We approve of that here at the Back Catalog Listening
Yeah.
Party.
And when the fiddle and the banjo start grooving together, I mean, it takes up that space that guitar player could fill anyways. I mean, this had such a great rhythm. A couple people have mentioned that here in the comments. Chris said, must be fun to watch you play banjo, bouncy. And I'm assuming this was just recorded live in a room or something, because it sure has that feel.
Yeah, this album definitely that tune. There might have been on this album. There may have been some overdubs, but or there's definitely some overdubs. But we just always find it's better to get the core of the thing to be live, and if we can record the vocals live, we do. And I much prefer this. Always have better results recording the vocals while I play and while the thing's happening.
Well, speaking of vocals, I heard two voices in there. So was that John or who?
That was
else
John.
singing?
That was John and Max. So that the first
okay.
tune we listened to was me and Max singing together. I was singing lead on it, and Max was singing. And that was John, and Max singing.
Nice.
And it sounded really good. And I also noticed that the bass on that was pretty grooving bass happening on that. That didn't sound like traditional old time. It sounded really groovy. So when you are coming up with these arrangements, especially if it's whether it's an original or a song like this that you've are kind of putting your own spin on, do you guys just jam on it, or does one of you sometimes come in with an idea?
I mean, we definitely I would come in with that song. I wrote it so it would come in the melodically and lyrically in the form it was in, and then we come up with the arrangements together. And then sometimes the melody or the lyric could change. I don't think it did in that case, but like in the spirit of that, like we've always like when no matter who brings a song, like for instance, like I wrote that song, but if you look, it's we split the publishing, the songwriting three ways, no matter what, no matter who brings it in. So usually, no matter what, like one of us brings a song in, probably basically the song's there, but we all, if we arrange it, we all end up being the songwriter on the song. Because, and I just say that because I think it speaks to, I just want to just sort of communicate just that yeah, that the songs are never finished until the other two, whoever the other two are, get their hands on it. It's not really, the song's never finished until that. Even if you bring the song like 90% of the way there, it's not really there until the other two have put their mark on it.
I love that. And that's also for those of you who are just starting to form bands and starting to play music. That's a really good lesson too of how you keep band members playing with you and recording with you for that long, because sort of understanding the contributions that everyone makes and acknowledging that I think is really important.
Hey there, would you like to be part of the live show? Well, become a member of the Back Catalog Listening Party Patreon, and you'll get a backstage pass to weekly online tapings where you can ask the artist questions and participate in the live chat with a fun community of like-minded music nerds. You'll also get a first look at upcoming guests and receive invitations to special live streams and private after parties. So join the party today at patreon.com/Back Catalog Listening Party. Chris, when you're writing or bringing songs, are there some that you're like, this one needs a bass, it's going to be a Lonesome Ace tune, and this one it doesn't need one? Like how do songs kind of fall into the different buckets of Lonesome Ace, Chris Coole, and you and your partner?
Yeah, I mean, anything that I can imagine being a Lonesome Ace song will be a Lonesome Ace song. But then I tend to write like I've got 3 solo albums, and they're tend to be, I mean, they're all 3 a bit different, but they tend to just be folkier, more singer songwritery, and just like if I can imagine it with bass and fiddle, then I usually it ends up being a Lonesome Ace song. But if I can't imagine it anyway, I just sort of keep it for myself. Yeah, I don't know whether I answered your question very well there, but
yeah, no, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, depending on how things are going. I was just curious about. I know you had some other influences and did maybe do some more singer songwriter stuff, so this that makes sense. Maybe sometimes lyrically and groove wise, it might just lend itself more to a.
And I've honestly written more vocal songs using, even though banjo is my first instrument, I tend to write on the guitar. So like, I've probably written like 80% of the songs I've ever written I've written them on the guitar, like vocal song, like songs. When I say song, I think of it, that's like something with lyrics. And so anything I write on the banjo would probably end up necessarily being a Lonesome Ace tune. And then some of the stuff I write on guitar, I was like, okay, I can imagine. Then I have to bring it over to the banjo and see if it works, which is great. Sometimes it works really well.
Well, speaking of the banjo, I'm just curious, growing up in Toronto, you mentioned not being around a lot of folk or country music and stuff. Were there some banjo mentors or teachers in your life that kind of showed you the way?
Yeah, I was not at the very beginning. There wasn't a lot. I met a guy named Rick Fielding who was like sort of like a classic sort of 60s era folk guy. And he showed me a very basic version of clawhammer, but he was a great influence on me. He'd been a professional musician his whole life, like a working musician. And he really took me under his wing. And it was like he was just like a great mentor in that sense. Not, I wouldn't say he was as much my banjo mentor, but my mentor, like, cause I've been a full-time musician since I was 19. So he was my mentor in that sense more, but I really didn't, I played for a couple of years before I really saw anybody else play what I would sort of call real clawhammer banjo. I was just sort of picking up by ear. And then I had a bluegrass banjo teacher. I played bluegrass banjo for about 6 months before I started. And a fellow named Chris Quinn, who's became a lifelong friend and bandmate of mine.
What's the band? Is it the Slocan Ramblers? No.
No, that's Frank Evans.
Oh, okay.
Who's much younger.
Okay, but there's another band. What band was Chris in?
Well, he was in the Foggy Hogtown Boys with me.
That's probably where it was.
but he these days he's playing in a band. Oh God, I can't think of their name right off the top of my head. I'll think about it in a second. But anyways, he was like, I didn't follow up with playing bluegrass that much. I can play a little bit, but he was the guy who would like lend me tapes, make me tapes, mix tapes, and like turn me on to John Hartford, which was a gigantic influence. Mm-hmm. And same with Rick Fielding. Like Rick Fielding, I'd go home from his house and I'd have like a bag full of 20 records. Yeah, and then I met Arnie Naiman, who was the first real clawhammer player I ever met and got to see up close. And then me and him started playing together, and we made a couple records together. The first one was way back in 1995 or 96, and that was the first like real album I ever made.
And we another clawhammer player.
Yeah, duets.
Cool.
Yeah, called Five Strings Attached with No Backing.
Is that still available somewhere?
Oh yeah, it's on. I mean, you can listen to it on it's on Spotify.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I'm very proud of those albums. Actually,
we'll definitely link up to all these projects in the show notes. So if you're listening to the podcast and you're like, oh, I want to go back and go into deeper into the Chris Coole banjo rabbit hole, you can go to backcataloglisteningparty.com and go to this episode with Chris Coole and the Lonesome Ace String Band, and you'll find links to a lot of this stuff. By the way, I love the pun on with no backing. It's great. For those of you who don't know, a lot of people who play most people who play old time banjo or clawhammer banjo often play banjos that don't have a back to the banjo. So that's, I like that. And one thing we should just mention, we're not going to, again, give a banjo tutorial here on the Back Catalog Listening Party, but if you are newer to the banjo, Chris was talking about old time or clawhammer and bluegrass banjo. Bluegrass banjo is a 3-finger, usually picking style. It's what you hear, a lot of the fast picking you hear in bluegrass music. And then the clawhammer is that kind of lighter rhythmic sound, and we were hearing that. We've been hearing that on all the tracks today. So just to give you guys a little background, but we want to hear more music. And so the next track that you picked to feature from this 2018 release is Joe Puckett and His Loving Mother. Is there anything you want to say about this track?
Yeah, this is a song. It's funny because when you we were talking before. I don't think of this as being an old album, but it's already 8 years old, and a lot of these songs I haven't thought of in a long time. And this is a song that we recorded and we played it like when we toured the album, but we didn't end up playing it live all that much. So I haven't played this song. I haven't thought about it in many years. But when I was going back to this album, I was like, oh yeah, that's a cool song. And I wrote this. I was teaching a week-long songwriting workshop at a camp, and we were one of I was giving them challenges, my students challenges each day. And one of them was sort of ballads that really told a distinct story. And we were all trying to write a song, and I ended up writing this song one day. And I love cowboy songs, even though I'm afraid of horses. I mean, I own like several pairs of cowboy boots, but I'm like the farthest thing from a cowboy there is. But I love, I've written a few cowboy songs, and this is one of them.
All right. Well, if you're out there enjoying what you're hearing, this hour's going by real fast, but we do have some time to get to your questions and comments. So if you have any questions or comments for Chris, throw them in the real-time chat while we give this one a spin. This is Joe Puckett and His Loving Mother from Chris Coole and the Lonesome Ace String Band here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Well, out upon the western plain in the land of the buffalo and Jesse James, I couldn't find no work, so I turned to crime. When I robbed that bank, I never felt so fine. I rode 6 days and I rode 3 more till I came to my own mother's door. She said, Joe, where have you been? I dreamt that you were lost in sin. I said, Mother, the news is good. I struck gold and no deadwood. I took my share, then I sold my claim. Now I come to you, a wealthy man. But you know there ain't a mother alive. Can't tell when her son is lying. She makes herself believe, 'cause a lie is better than a broken heart. Next day I went to town, you know I laid my money down. I bought a Stetson hat, loaded, dressed so fine, smoking fat cigars and drinking sweet berry wine. I stumbled home late that night from within the kitchen, a tall light. There sat my old mother true, she said, somebody's been looking for you. You know there ain't a mother alive. Can't tell when her son is lying. She makes herself believe, 'cause a lie's better than a broken heart. Just then a knock upon the door, it broke my peace forevermore. Joe, you'd better come on out, we've got you covered, there's no doubt. Mother cried, there's some mistake, my boy's a saint, for goodness sake. She ran outside to have her say, shotgun blast, and there she lay. Held her there in my arms, cursed myself to bring her harm. Last word she said before she died, nevermore I hear you lie. Oh, you know there ain't a mother alive. You can't tell when her son is lying, but she makes herself believe, 'cause a lie's better than a broken heart.
You know there ain't a mother alive. Can't tell when her son is lying. She makes herself believe,
'cause a lie's better than a broken heart. Can't tell when the sun is lying. She makes herself believe, 'cause a lie's better than a broken heart.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, really good stuff. That was the Lonesome Ace String Band with Joe Puckett and his loving mother, an original ballad from their album that came out in 2018, When the Sun Comes Up. And if you're liking this as much as we are, and the comments are during that while we were playing that track, we're going off like gangbusters. So folks digging the music, might I suggest that you actually buy this album, because there are CD copies still available, or at least get the download the high-res audio files, because it sounds really, really good.
It sure does. And acoustic instruments too. I mean, like, these instruments themselves are the sound. They, like the right hands and the left hands and these wonderful handcrafted instruments. When you're just streaming this stuff on Spotify or whatever, you're just getting a fraction of the sounds. And so you get the high-res files. I'm listening to the high-res files here, and it sounds so good. And I agree with Ellen, whether it's the CD or the digital downloads. You can find their music at lonesomeace.com. And it goes a long way also to supporting artists when you purchase their music directly. You're not getting much out of these streaming platforms, that's for sure. But one CD, man, that's like, I don't know, 3,000 streams or something.
Exactly. Exactly. And, Chris Coole and John Showman. So 2/3 of the Lonesome Ace String Band, Showman and Coole, are going on tour. They're going to be in the United States, doing a run of shows and playing here at the Minnesota Bluegrass Winter Weekend, that first weekend of March. And, travel is not cheap these days. So,
Mm-mm.
buy some CDs. Don't just buy this one, buy all of them, while you're at it.
That's right.
And help fuel their tank, pay for those plane tickets and all that good stuff, because we want to have more back catalog music from Chris Coole and all his various musical configurations. So go to lonesomeace.com. You can pick up this record and their other records. And for more information about Chris Coole's music, including his solo stuff and all his tour dates with Showman and Coole, you can go to chriscoole.com. That's COOLE.com. So you can check that out. And again, just want to put a plug in that if you live within driving distance of the Twin Cities, the Minnesota Bluegrass Winter Weekend, it's my favorite winter event of the year. And I call it my Bluegrass Spa Weekend because I live close by, but I get a hotel room. I'll enjoy a jam or, do a square dance, and then I'll, take a soak in the hot tub. I'm just saying, it's a good weekend.
That's for sure. Yeah. And you can catch Chris with Showman, and they're going to be headlining the old time slot. And I believe we got the Poe Ramblin' Boys headlining the bluegrass slot. And we got tons of regional bands, workshops, and it really is great. You can learn more at minnesotabluegrass.org, and you won't regret it.
Yes, exactly. And Chris, so when you're on tour with John Showman, do you guys do some of the Lonesome Ace stuff, or is it just a totally different kind of repertoire, or do you just
No,
do
we
new
do
arrangements?
lots of Lonesome Ace stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, John and I are the band. So, so it's same material. And we of these 5 tunes that I sent you, there's probably about 3 of these 5 that we still sort of play. Like that last one we haven't, if somebody asked us to play that last one right now, it would be pretty tricky. We probably haven't played it for about 7 years, since the year after the album came out. Which is, how that goes. It's just some tunes are work better live, and some tunes are sort of end up just being album tunes. But yeah, so we still do a lot of the stuff. The last 2 Lonesome Ace albums have just been sort of me and John. The last one was us with about 5 different bass players.
And do you know what? When you're at the winter weekend coming up, I bet there'll be a few bass players hanging around. So
well, we have. I know we're playing the square dance, and they're setting us up with a guitar player and a bass player for that, just to fill up the sound. So we're looking forward to that.
Excellent. So a couple chances to catch them doing a more concert set and playing dance as well.
We're also teaching. We're both teaching 2, but each of us is teaching 2 workshops on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm teaching 2 banjo workshops, and they're like real teaching workshops, like on specific subjects. So
excellent. Very exciting. So again, minnesotabluegrass.org, and is for more information about this festival coming up the first weekend of March. And for all the tour dates for Chris Coole, go to chriscoole.com. And we're going to try and squeeze in as much as we can. But before we do, I want to take this opportunity to thank the folks that have kept the back catalog listening party going for almost 6 years.
Wow.
That's right.
That's wild.
And these folks have really kept the party going. And if you want a party to go on for 6 years, it takes a lot of folks, contributing the drinks, the fun, and the funds. And these folks have stepped up in a big way and continue to do so and join the party every week. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Ellen, Chris, Becky, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Matt, Steve, Mark, Severin, Lynn, Mary, Nikki, Joni, David, CJ, Christy, Diane, Hetty, Sandy, Neighbor Ann, BZ, Paul, Cynthia, Ross, Mike, Eric, Stephanie, Phil, and Ryan, and maybe you. If you want to join this mighty crew and support the show and maybe pick up one of those back catalog listening party pint glasses, there it is. Tony's is looking a little empty. We don't fill it for you. That's the part you have to do yourself. But
Yeah,
But
it's just it's a wonderful hour we spend almost every week doing these live tapings, and it's the the kind of the rejuvenation that I need every week, just sitting and listening to music with no agenda other than appreciating great songwriting and great recording, and great playing, and talented people like Chris here. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're one of those people that likes to read the liner notes and wants to know all about it, you might be interested. So check out patreon.com/back catalog listening party.
that's right. That's how you get invitations to all the live tapings and the inside scoops. Sometimes some backstories, and see how the sausage gets made a little bit here at the Patreon. So you can join the Patreon and find out more about the inner workings of the Back Catalog Listening Party. But no matter how you've joined us, we're glad you're here. And if you're listening to the podcast, if you like what you're hearing, not only should you buy Chris's music and Lonesome Ace String Band's music, but you should like the episode, review it, share it with friends, and most importantly, subscribe, because you'll get notified of who our guest next week will be, because every Friday we drop new episodes with our favorite musicians. But we're going to get to some more music. We're going to get to this song right here. The next one, a song that probably folks might know, Pretty Boy Floyd. Is there anything you want to tell us about your version of it?
Yeah, so this is not, nobody will have heard this song before. This is John wrote this song, and it's a retelling of the Pretty Boy Floyd story. He wanted to balance. I mean, he'd heard the Woody Guthrie song, and John Steinbeck talks about Pretty Boy Floyd and Grapes of Wrath, and he's always celebrated, but he sort of started doing some reading on Pretty Boy Floyd. And of course, it's not quite that simple. He did kill a lot of people. So this is John's attempt to sort of balance the folk hero with the criminal and, give it some context.
Right on. So the Lonesome Ace String Band, Pretty Boy Floyd, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
He went down one night in a driving rain to a bullet from the FBI, and they propped him underneath an apple tree waiting for Pretty Boy Floyd to die. The cops all stared in disbelief, they've been hunting him for so long. There's Charles Floyd slowly bleeding out, public enemy number one, with a book full of warrants and a long list of crimes, and everyone bearing his name. And even if he'd only done half those things, he was good enough to hang. Not many people would have given Pretty Boy up. He was loved all across the land. But these are cold, hard years, and money buys ears when enough money changes hands. Boy Floyd lifted his head, started to cough, and his mouth turned red. His face was ashen, and his voice was weak, but his eyes were smiling as he began to speak. He said, "Whoa, you've got me dead to rights this time. It's nice to finally meet you all, and I must say the pleasure is mine. Run me all over Oklahoma, Ohio, and Missouri too. I never set out to be famous, and now you made me the headline news. Now here I am, the great distraction, and they love me on Capitol Hill. I'm the one writing your paycheck, oh, the Senate just stamps the bills. Some men will rob you with a 6-gun, others rob with a fountain pen. I never took a dime from anyone who hadn't robbed 100 innocent men." Pretty Boy Floyd closed his eyes. He knew the time had come to die. And there he passed into verse and song and in story. He lives on and on and on and on. He went down in the dust in the noonday sun to a bullet from the FBI. Nobody really knows what happened. The story kept changing as the years rolled by. But they dressed him up nice, put him on display in the town of Sallisaw. And over 20,000 Oklahoma residents came to pay respect to the dead outlaw. Times are still tough and it's not very much has changed between now and then. Guns go for dimes and much bigger crimes are committed with a paper and pen. And it feels like the country is run by thieves like it was in the Pretty Boys' day. And that's why we all love outlaws, cause someone's gotta make them pay. October in 34 to a bullet from the FBI. And they propped him underneath an apple tree, waiting for pretty boy Floyd to die.
All right. Lonesome Ace
Nice.
String Band with Pretty Boy Floyd. And I love that. I love the whole song, but the ending is really, really great. I wasn't sure if there was going to be another fiddle break in there, but I love that kind of finality of ending with that line.
I love that little fiddle banjo melodic hook that you guys put in there.
Yeah, we will probably we still play that tune a lot. So
good.
even when we're playing as a duo, so you just might hear that tune if you come out to the festival.
Fantastic.
Excellent. And I love the vocals on that. The interplay of the backing vocals with the lead vocal. Was that something you had to overdub later?
Yeah, we there was like a lot of humming. I don't know that you were hearing that
in the very beginning. Yeah,
and actually sort of all through. And we did that a bunch on this album. We sort of used like these. We would stack these humming triads, and we would sort of use them almost like a keyboard.
Cool.
Yeah, it sounds really great. So I think that song is such a great example of like. You said, I didn't grow up in the old time traditions, but I think that maybe enabled you to do these really creative things that people wouldn't normally think of doing with an old time configuration in a band. But it sounds so good.
Yeah,
really, really nice.
So thank you. Thank you.
The Back Catalog Listening Party is brought to you by EFS Publicity. Founded by veteran publicist, promoter, DJ, and musician Ellen Stanley, EFS brings an artist's perspective to the table, working to help clients get to the next level in their career. Services include national and international media campaigns, radio promotions, tour press, crowdfunding, grant writing, and more. Get a quote or set up a consultation today at efspublicity.com. Well, again, if you have been enjoying the music, you can pick up this album at lonesomeace.com, which we've been revisiting. This album came out in 2018, When the Sun Comes Up. And I did want to ask you about this beautiful cover that you have, the artwork.
Yeah, my friend Mike Heffer did that cover. He's a woodblock printer out in Fernie, BC. And actually his business is called Clawhammer Press.
Perfect.
Is he a banjo player too?
His wife is a banjo player. He plays mandolin mostly.
Nice.
It's beautiful.
Love that. Really, really nice stuff. And you can pick up that artwork when you buy the CD at lonesomeace.com. This last song is pretty short, so I think we can fit it in. What do you think?
I think we should. Yeah, I think it'd be a great way to.
So this is maybe like what you've been hearing is more our sort of a lot of our original stuff and sort of our sort of studio stuff, but this is more representative of our take on old time music. This is an old Ed Haley tune, and the way we play old time music is definitely very inspired by the way John Hartford played old time music in the last few albums of his life.
Yeah. And how is this pronounced?
Catlettsburg.
Catlettsburg. All right.
I think it's Catlettsburg. It's a town in Kentucky.
Got it. All right. Well, I think it's the perfect way to close out our hour here with Chris Coole and the Lonesome Ace String Band with Catlettsburg here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
I think I'm really excited for you to play the square dance. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that was good. That was pretty good timing.
Yeah.
2 seconds off.
I know. Well, that was music from the Lonesome Ace String Band from their 2018 album When the Sun Comes Up, which we have been revisiting today with one of the band members, Chris Coole. And again, Chris Coole will be on tour with John Showman. So 2/3 of the band, the Lonesome Ace String Band, will be touring in the U.S. over these next few weeks. So make sure to check them out. You can find more info at chriscoole.com. And thank you so much, Chris, for taking some time to hang out with us tonight.
It's been my pleasure. It's really nice to talk to you both.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Those of you who joined us live and anybody listening to this in the podcast or watching on YouTube, we appreciate it too. What we love more than anything is celebrating great independent artists like the Lonesome Ace String Band, like Chris Coole. And you make that possible. So thank you. And we hope to see you here next week on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review, which helps more people discover our show and our guests.
And do you want to be a part of the live show, get a first look at upcoming guests, and receive invites to private online parties and live streams? Then join our Patreon community at backcataloglisteningparty.com.
Have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party.